Hub for people, events, styles, and techniques. I'm your host, Ferdinand Gayoles, and with me today is our co-host, Dr. Paulo Motita. Dr. Paulo, good morning and thank you for joining us again here at First Strike.
Good morning, Doc GM Bot, and of course ating mga viewers. Good morning sa lahat po ng nandito ngayon sa ating live. Good morning sa inyong lahat and welcome to our episodes on the First Strike. Ayan, pag-usapan po natin, we'll talk about exciting Filipino martial arts. Martial arts na alam natin rare sa iba, but this time, we will interview, of course, my partner will interview the Grandmaster himself. So magandang umaga po sa lahat and welcome po ulit. Thank you, Jembot.
Yes, wonderful. This is a very nice episode, Dr. Paul, because, as you said, First Strike is the hub. People, event, styles, and techniques. And I
Correct.
think this is our first episode that deals with the style and its techniques.
Yes,
And
correct.
Tapado.
Ayan, the Tapado. Ayan.
Yes.
Ito kasi miss real sa some of the martial artists because very open sila doon sa two sticks, espada daga, single stick. Kasi that's a form of kasi usually yun ang training practice. So kasi Tapado is of course ibang gagamitin natin ditong weapons is different weapons from the usual, which is a long stick. So siguro later with your interview with our Grandmaster himself, siguro doon sa mga nagtatanong ano ba yung Tapado, okay, di ba? So where it originates and anong mga technical styles na pwedeng ma-adapt when it comes to Tapado. Ito ba ay madali, mahirap, or something that na pwedeng makuhanan natin ngayon ng mas it will add on to our skills in martial arts. Ayan, sige.
Okay. Actually, sir, before we start with our Tapado, I would just like to say a little saying. Tapado daw, sabi nila, is like checkers.
Yeah, okay.
It takes only a minute to learn and a lifetime to master, but it's relatively easy to learn.
Correct.
And what makes it unique, Doctor, is it uses a long stick. You know, here in Negros, we have many styles that use long stick. We have the bugsay or the oar. Yeah, it's an oar used for a paddling boat. And we also have the tuwang-tuwang. Yeah, the tuwang-tuwang is what people in the rural areas use when carrying two loads.
Yes.
One in front and one at the
We
back.
call it here in Luzon or some areas, ang tawag dyan pingga eh.
Pingga.
Pingga, yeah. Sa amin naman in ang probinsya ko, we call it ulayan.
Ulayan. Yes.
So, of course, kasi nga, we are an archipelago, we have different types of language. We call it sa isang bagay. Like sinabi mo kanina, yung bugsay is the same thing with that. It's a paddle, ginagamit ng ating mga fishermen. Yes, paddle yun. So yun, paano siya, kasi minsan, usually ang ating martial arts is, yung weapons na ginagamit natin sa Filipino martial arts, usually, yung mga common weapons na nasa bahay lang eh. In fact, they're being used for farming, for fishing, and of course, for daily lives, na pwedeng makita natin, useful pala siya eh. In fact, sa different weapons ng Filipino martial arts na makikita natin from long to short and even yung mismong ginagamit natin sa farming, yung ginagamit natin sa ng palay. It's also useful in as a weapon. So as sabi nga nila or some Grandmaster says, the Filipino martial arts was actually developed using those tools in farming, using those tools for fishing and so on, whatever it is na nakikita natin. Because as we always hear from our Grandmaster or from our teachers that harness is just an extension of the hands. Yan. So doon siya nagkakaroon ng connection. Why? Filipino martial arts has a lot of weapons na being introduced. Yan. Kahit na sabi na, of course, very rare or very common na yung knife, yung sword, yung itak na ginagamit natin, different types of Filipino blade ay all across the country, di ba? So, very common yan. And of course, yung ating ginagamit for practice na sticks, very common na yan. Pero there are still weapons rare sa paningin ng bawat sa. In fact, nakikita mo mismo sa kahit na yung paglalaba, as very practice dito sa atin before na pupunta sa ilog, yung ginagamit ng palo-palo, it can be, of course, a weapon, a useful weapon. So, this time, siguro, from a middle sticks that we are used to, the stick of 28 to 30 inches that we used to practice. This time, we will introduce another types of weapon, which I think it will be helpful din. Kasi alam ko, the Tapado, yung concept, meron siyang tinatawag natin yung basic niya is deep. I think it's 41 inches na as a practice. Pero in actual fight, wala namang measurement na yan as long as you know the skills. Pero syempre, since now, that siguro that will answer the term modified Tapado di ba? Later, it will be answered by our Grandmaster himself, the modifier of the Tapado. because he actually modified. Yeah. And I know that your interview, and I'm excited, of course, excited na tayo mapakinggan ang ating Grandmaster. Siya mismo, hindi yung tayo lang mag-uusap dito. I know that we are both practitioners of Tapado because as I always say, I am an adopted Negrense kasi I used to practice Filipino martial arts from Negros. Yan. Very vocal ako. Aking Filipino martial arts originate from Negros kasi yung mga Grandmasters ko at mga instructors ko are from Negros. This time, I also practice this with the sensei himself, with the Grandmaster himself, and of course, siguro, at least hindi lang tayo magyayabang personal na we practice. And this time, with your interview, siguro makakatulong ito sa ating mga viewers, not only here in the Philippines, but all over the world. So, shout out doon sa mga sa ating mga kasamahan na andyan na sumusubaybay sa atin. Marami silang so you can, by the way, sa ating mga listeners, you can comment, drop your comments dito sa ating chat box. Ayan, natin, like ito, sabi ni from Las Piñas si Ma'am Wilma, ninang ko po ito. Ayan, salamat po. Of course, si Sir Peter from, I know he's from Baguio City. Tama po ba ako, Sir Peter? Pugay po sa lahat. And of course, Dan Bautista, good morning. Good morning, Dan. And of course, si Jazz, ayan. So, dito po, we will try to read your comments. Maging ito yung pagbati ay ating babatiin yan, Sir Bot, no? Bago natin ipasok yung inyong time with the GM mic, yan. So, pwede po bumati po kung saan po tayo nakikinig all over the country, all over the world. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Yes, Sir Bot?
Good morning to all. Yes. And by the way, it's also nice. Dr. Paulo says he's the adopted son of Negros, and we're also very proud to have Dr. having our backs because it's a wealth of knowledge. Yeah. He's a treasure trove of Irish knowledge. Thank you, Dr. Thank you very much. Yeah. So you're always welcome. Okay. So, Dr. I would just like you to know, right now there is a resurgence here in Panay and over Negros on the practice of Tapado long stick. As a matter of fact, there are many schools helping out, and Tapado seems to become a generic for styles that use the long stick.
Yes. Actually, as I understand with the Sensei Mike, as long as you first, sabi niya sa akin before, just practice first the uno and dos, and the rest you can adapt it the practice of your sticks. Sabi niya, hindi ko sinasabing iwanan mo yung arnis mo, kung hindi, this will be a useful and add-on to your skill. Ayan. I said, sorry Sir Mike, no? I Sir Bot, I will just, yung basahin ko lang. Siyempre, baka ito si Sir Tony Aguirre, ayan, ang ating boss.
Good morning, Sir Tony.
Yeah. Of course, my brother Bobong Borbano from Negros, ayan. And yan. At least ako, medyo bantayan natin ito kasi at least they are actually here para suportahan din tayo. So thank you very much sa inyong mga comments. Yes, Sir Bot, tuloy tayo.
Sige, sir. And we'll now proceed to the interview with Sensei Mike.
Ayan, okay. So, siguro kasi ang mag-i-interview po kasi aking partner, si Sir Bot, no? Actually, I know Sensei Mike. Siguro later, you will know him. Pero personally, I know Sensei Mike as a former karate champion. Ayan. I will no longer say kung anong taon yon. Bahala na po kayo mamaya. Baka magalit si Sensei Mike sa akin. But I know, Sensei Mike is napakabait pong tao ito. And very generous. Sensei Mike is very generous, ha? He's actually open to share his skills. Not only, kasi he's as a karate champion, kahit makita natin, kilala siya during his time as karate champion. Pero, he's a former PE teacher din, kaya medyo magaling si Sensei Mike when it comes to the movements. Yan. Isa rin siya tinihinahangaan natin yan. And Sensei Mike, sinasabi ko na pala kung ano pala ang pangalan ng ating Grandmaster. But of course, as I've said, later you will know him very much. Pero sa akin personal, he's my first teacher in Tapado sa isang seminars. And alam nyo, pag ikaw martial artist, the best thing that you will learn more is when you talk to him personally. Kasi I also have a Grandmaster. This is pinsan niya wala na si Sir Chris Vasquez.
Yes.
Parehong Vasquez, pero syempre iba rin naman yung art that I have learned from Sensei Mike. So matagal ko na pong na-encounter si Sensei Mike, and of course I trained with some basic Tapado, and sabi niya, okay, kasi sabi niya pares naman tayong we're both PE teachers. Sabi niya, I just open the door for you, the concept and movements of Tapado, and you improve it. You know? Yun ang maganda sa kanya. Hindi niya sinasabing ganito lang dapat pag-aralan nyo. I will teach you how to do the basic, and I will teach you, or I give you the authority to develop your own, because he believes actually that we have different structures. So, ibig sabihin, kahit nasabihin, ibigay ko sa ito pinakamagaling, pero hindi naman mag-adapt sa iyong katawan. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, okay, it's an honor to, of course, introduce an interview with Sensei Mike ng aking partner, si Grandmaster Bobot Gayoles. Sige, Sensei, yan.
Hi! Welcome to First Strike. In this episode, we will be featuring Tapado. And with us is one of the foremost teachers of Tapado himself, the developer of Vasquez Modified Tapado, Sensei Mike Vasquez.
I think we're having
Sensei,
some problem with
welcome
the
to
audio
First
sir,
Strike.
right now.
Okay, Sensei, let us start. I would like to know who is Mike Vasquez.
Naririnig ko sa live. Naririnig ko.
Okay.
Founder of Modified Tapado.
You were the one who developed it.
Yes.
Perhaps you'd like to tell me something about your other martial arts experience. Do you have any other martial arts other than Tapado before you invented it?
Yes. I have modified karate and also hybrid arnis.
Arnis. Okay, let's talk about the hybrid arnis first.
Okay.
What were the earlier styles of arnis that you studied before you developed Tapado?
I studied in Cruzada arnis.
In Cruzada,
Ricarte
Ricarte.
arnis.
Now, this in Cruzada and Ricarte arnis, I presume these are traditional arnis styles.
Yes. In Cruzada is a long range type
Long range.
style, and Ricarte is short.
So even before you had Tapado, you already had this long range and short range knowledge of arnis.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about your other martial arts knowledge. You said earlier that you also practiced karate. What kind of karate did you practice?
It's a Shotokan style.
Shotokan.
And I modified it.
So, you had the Shotokan style of karate already, and you also modified it just like your Tapado.
Yes.
Okay. But before we go to Tapado, let's cover everything else. Everything before Tapado. Where did you learn your Shotokan and under whom?
I learned it from my brother. He went to Japan way back 1964, and he taught me this Shotokan style here in Bacolod City. And after that, one Japanese instructor, his name is Kunio Sasaki.
Kunio Sasaki.
Yeah, he's a high-ranking black belt in Japan, of the Japan Karate Association or the Nihon Karate Kyukai.
So you mean to say, when he came back from Japan, he brought with him a Japanese teacher in karate who taught you Shotokan karate.
Yes.
And later on, Sensei Mike is a very gifted person. He did not only study Shotokan, he also modified it. Now, Sensei Mike has a talent of modifying the arts that he learned. Now, let's go to Tapado, Sensei. When did you learn, and under whom did you learn Tapado?
Around 1982.
1982.
Studied privately,
Privately.
under Romeo Nono Mamar
Nono Mamar. Where is this Nono Mamar from?
from Talok,
Talok.
Bago City.
So you were one of his earliest and original students. So, ladies and gentlemen, you see here, Sensei Mike is one of the original Tapado students of the developer of Tapado himself. But Sensei Mike took it a step further and he developed it into Vasquez Modified Tapado. Okay, now Vasquez Modified Tapado, they say, is one of the most dynamic styles of Tapado right now. Now, Sensei Mike, can you tell me what really is the meaning of Tapado? Why do they call it Tapado?
Tapado, it came from the Iligaynon or Ilonggo word.
Ilonggo word.
Yes, meaning finish or it's over.
So it came from the word tapat,
Tapat.
which means finish
Finish.
or game over.
Over.
So essentially, what you're trying to say is to finish it in one blow if possible.
Yes,
To finish it
quickly.
as possible. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have now a little introduction of what Tapado is about. And when we come back, we will know more about Vasquez Modified Tapado. So there you have it, folks. The little introduction by no other than the master himself, Grandmaster Mike Vasquez.
Okay, so tuloy tayo, no? As we show some of the movement, some of the trainings or teachings of Sensei Mike. Yeah, alam ko, this was happened in Bacolod during
Yes,
the
latest.
Philippine Martial Festival. Yeah.
Latest part.
Yan, very interesting kasi tingnan nyo, ang pinapakita dito talaga yung actual. Ayan pa yung aking kapatid na nawala na si Sir Jameson. No? And of course, dito pinapakita natin na yung distance importante, di ba, Sir?
Yes, especially during practice, Doc Pao, because we really have to consider the safety of the players itself. Because in Tapado, the strikes are very powerful.
Yes.
Now, distance is really very important, actually.
Kaya nga, Sir, ang isa sa mga hindi ko makalimutan ditong term ni Sensei Mike, yung lampos Lampos gid. So, alam naman natin this Ilonggo term for, to strike. Yan.
Yes.
Ganun ang ito ay, we remember this was 2012?
2012, yes, sir.
2012,
Yes.
ayan. Yan yung natin doon sa Negros. I remember this. Sensei Mike, medyo malakas pa. And of course, ngayon, sa tingin naman natin during the interview, malakas pa rin naman si Sensei Mike. So, they understand, no? Bakit siya naging modified Tapado? Ulitin ko, as he said, as Sensei Mike said, he modified even Shotokan Karate. Because, siguro, genius din naman si Sensei Mike when it comes to movements. He modified the movements. Kaya nga tinawag siguro modified, it's because para at least for teaching purposes and of course for the students to really understand how effective the technique is. Yun naman ang yun naman ang concept ng modifying the technique. Yeah. Kahit sabi ko, ako mismo I modified some movement skills. It's because, ulitin ko, bawat tao, may kanya-kanyang sariling galaw. Pwedeng kahit anong turo mo dyan, ikaw ang pinakamagaling when it comes to kung hindi mo naman mapag-aralan yung hindi natin napapag-aralan yung galaw ng isang tao mismo. In fact, if you notice dito ngayon sa Olympics natin, talagang different coaches para makuha natin yung gold. So the same thing with this martial arts. So yan, pinapakita po sa atin, makita natin si Sensei Mike talaga hindi I remember him in 2016 sorry pero mga 28 siguro, 2008.
Tagataw.
Yeah, 2008 siguro yun nag-start ako with Tapado with Sensei Mike. Although I heard Tapado, pero with the instructor himself, Derek, learning from the instructor himself, nung mga year 2008 or 2008 yan, na naintindihan ko and I also internalized this modified Tapado, di ba? So, yan po, no? Nakikita po natin. By the way, before we continue, we'd like to thank our sponsors. Yan. Kasi kailangan natin basahin ito, sir, ha?
Yeah.
Of course,
Very important.
Filipino. Of course, yung Tumandok Handicraft is a Negros product. So, you're not just actually embracing the art of Filipino martial arts. Siyempre, gusto natin yun. And some of our visitors in Negros, baka gusto nyo ng souvenirs. It's not only souvenir. Of course, some of our staff for training, bibigay sa inyo ni Tumandok Handicraft. Ayan. Kailangan natin yan And of course, yung GCash, pwede nyo rin po kaming i-direct GCash ni Sir. Mamaya pala ilagay ko yung aking GCash number. Or pwede nyo na chat if you want to share your blessings to us. Yan. Using GCash nito, it's fast and effective. Transferring of money. Actually, I use GCash also. Kaya pagka may sa akin, mas mabilis lang siya. Using your cell phone, you can do GCash. And of course, siyempre, yung mga may sakin dyan yung CI. So thank you very much sponsors for sponsoring this program kasi you're not just helping us, but of course our advocacy in propagating Filipino martial arts. Not only the Philippines, but worldwide. Ayan. So
I would just like to answer, the developer of Tapado, Romeo Mamar, he developed Tapado because there was a time when he was so frustrated because when he fights against other OED stars, he seems to have difficulty beating them. That's why he also modified Uigo later on, which became Tapado.
Yeah. Kasi I also have friends who are perhaps, of course, marami tayong kaibigan niya sa Negros, kaya oftentimes they chat or message me, nakikita kong training la using the Oido. So I know that they are also have some weapons, modified weapons for Oido, and of course using the long and short stuff. And nakita ko nga yung buntot pagi na tinatawag, ang gandang stuff din for whipping, di ba? So these are the things that develops the martial arts. Kasi sabi ko nga kanina sa introduce earlier na ang ating Filipino martial arts has rich skills and knowledge kasi every Filipinos, of course, it is in the blood of the Filipino. Kaya sabi nila, bakit mabibilis magaling Filipino? It's because it is within our blood. Yun lang yun And at the same time, yung movements, we can modify easily the movements. Like what Sensei Mike says, he modified the movements. Kasi nga, during his time, ang malaking tao si Sensei Mike. While siguro si GM Mamar is mas maliit. So, syempre, nagkaroon ng difference yun So, iba yung needs, or iba yung power and speed na kailangan ni Sensei Mike. And, of course, with the Grandmaster Nono Momar before. So, yun siguro yung criteria while the modifying the art and the technique itself. Ayan. Okay? So, of course, nakita natin. Actually, it's not actually Filipinos are practicing. Foreigners are also doing practicing. Kasi, nakikita nila Ayan, nakikita nila. Ayan. So, until now, alam ko, marami pa rin because they are actually, I remember sometimes in 2010 siguro yun one of the practitioners of Tapado play in a long stick competition. Kasi merong nag-ano ng long stick competition, he used the skills of Tapado. Kaya nga, sabi when we analyze with Grandmaster Bambit before, sabi niya, kita mo, he's using Tapado. Bakit sir? Sabi niya, sabi niya, yung accuracy ng kanyang palo when it comes to his opponent. Sabi niya, kita mo kung saan yung areas na nakaka-advantage siya. Ayan. So, later siguro, we will discuss I know that there's still another interview, a continuation
Yes, sir. We have.
the interview. Siguro titingnan natin yung ano pa, what adds on to the
Art itself.
yeah, to the Tapado itself. So ito ngayon, pinag-uusapan natin is the Philippine martial style of Tapado. So later siguro makikita natin paano naman ako pag may short stick ako, how it will be adapted or vice versa. Ano yung short stick adapting the Tapado techniques. So, yan, makikita po natin uli ang continuation ng ating interview ng aking partner kay Sensei Mike. Ayan.
Vasquez.
So,
Welcome back to First Strike.
Pakinggan
Now,
po
Sensei
natin
Mike,
ulit.
let's just talk a little more about your harness this time. Vasquez modified. Now, Sensei Mike, why did you develop Vasquez modified Tapado when there is already a Tapado?
I developed this swab so that it will be more efficient and more powerful.
So essentially, you were able to discover things there that enhanced it.
Yes.
So essentially, modified Tapado is more powerful.
Yes.
No, because
Powerful.
I think it's something to do with it has something to do with the mechanics of body mechanics that
Yes,
you
yes.
use. Anyway, Sensei, okay, in terms of arnis, why do you think there is still a need for Tapado if people already know arnis?
You need also a long stick in case you encounter a longer one
Okay.
or long weapons. Because if you have only a short stick, you have a big disadvantage. So that's why I developed this modified Tapado so that it will augment and complement arnis.
Arnis.
So in my mind, it will I want it to be called it Tapado, the long stick of arnis.
Okay, so it will enable arnisadors to have a choice of not only using a espada e daga only, daga o daga only. This time they have a longer weapon that they can use and a more powerful one.
Yes.
Now let me go to this next question because people will really ask, because in the name Vasquez modified Tapado there is the word modified. Now, how is Vasquez modified Tapado different from just Tapado?
It's very different because it has my innovation. You can do more powerful strikes.
More powerful
So
strikes?
then you can have other techniques and also this because I learned Tapado from Romeo no Mama for nearly 2 years.
2 years,
2 years,
continuously.
private,
Private.
one-on-one. That's why all his later he told me I have no more techniques to teach you. Even the names, he told me you put there, you will be the one to put the names. I don't know the names anymore.
So there, since in your book, I think there are names of different techniques of Tapado. You mean to say you were the one given the authority to give names to those techniques?
Yes.
Now, this is one thing we should know about as administrators. Essentially, if you see the modified Tapado book, there are certain terms of certain techniques. And the founder himself authorized Sensei Mike
Yes.
to give them techniques, to categorize them.
Yes.
Okay, now Sensei. So now let's just go back. Now Sensei modified it to make it easier to practice, to make it more effective,
Yes.
to make it more powerful. And of course, there are certain innovations that you yourself injected into the art. Now Sensei, let's go to your art, the art itself. What kind of stick do you use in Tapado?
We use our standard stick is coffee.
Why do you use coffee?
It is very resilient and it will not break. It will only
Bend?
bend or lengthwise, but not it will break into two.
Okay, and it will not fray. Like I understand rattan will fray into small pieces. Now this is not the case with coffee. And how do you handle the tapado stick? With two hands also.
Yes, yes.
And how do you position your hands in the stick?
Position our hands is the handle, put it there to 1 to 2 inches, then also here.
In the middle,
In the middle, in between is 1 to 2 inches also.
1 to 2 inches.
So if you are right-handed, your right hand is also forward.
Your lead
Your
hand.
lead hand. Yes. If you are left-handed, the opposite.
Okay. So you use coffee sticks,
Yes.
and to hold it there is a protruding 1 inch,
1 to 2
2 inches, and this is your hand, and in between 1 to 2 inches
inches
again,
also.
and your hand. Now, Sensei Mike, when we come back again, you are going to show us the different strikes of tapado. Okay?
Before
Yeah,
anything,
okay, yes, sir.
I want to
You want to add
add that we are also using tula-tula,
tula-tula,
tula-tula and kalamunding.
kalamunding,
But our standard stick is coffee.
coffee.
So then when I was in America, we use
Rattan.
because there is no coffee there.
No coffee,
Oh,
no
very
tula-tula.
rare. No, it's very rare. It's scarce. So the rattan there is heavy.
Heavy.
Not like here in it's very light. It's light. So that's why I suggest that in America you use rattan.
Rattan.
Because it's heavy.
It's heavy.
Not here.
Not-
We don't use rattan here.
Like the one that we use here.
Yes, it's light.
It's light. So in the United States, there were rattan sticks that are heavy and
So
sturdier.
It's heavy and very strong.
Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, Sensei Mike again, let's just go back. He uses coffee, he uses tula-tula,
Yes.
he uses kalamunding, and if available, use the stronger, the harder, and sturdier rattan sticks
Oh, in America.
in America,
But not here.
in the Philippines. Again, when we come back, Sensei Mike is going to show us this time the techniques, the major strikes of tapado. I'll see you when we come back.
Okay, so there we have it now.
Okay, so again, ngayon papakita natin yung different strokes, styles, but before that siguro, I just want to shout out dito sa ating mga taga-subaybay. Of course, sabi ni Sir Tony, very wow, nice to hear that the parish practice in almost all areas in the Philippines. Watching Kate Alexa Lubin, yan. Of course, Mati Bacolod's watching from the City of Smiles. Victor de la Riva, Pugay po. Ayan. And of course, again, Sir Peter from Mati Baguio City. Ayan. Ito yung mga natin, no? mga taga-subaybay. Of course, John Ernie. Ayan, si Sir Ernie. Shout out to our martial arts friends in California and USA. Dan Inosanto, Chuck Norris, Cynthia Rotrak, Steven Sigal, Gracia Casillas, and Mark Dacuscos from Sir Tony. Shout out to Legend Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. Nate Defensor. Shout out sa our martial arts legend practicing FMA including modified tapado. Of course, si Ma'am Mary Ann Grace Bulia from Baguio, Mapangdol from Baguio is watching. And of course, to my compare Mansol de Rosario, Manny Pacquiao, and si Grandmaster ni Tongson. Of course, ating sa Grandmaster ng Kuntao is watching, Grandmaster Unyo, Jun Lanyada. Alam nyo, we will also feature in the future Kuntao. Actually, Kuntao is in our line. Naka-line up na po si Kuntao. So, I'm sure, makikilala niyo po itong gwapong Grandmaster ng Kuntao. Pakikilala ko sa inyo ito. With Grandmaster Carlito Jun Lanyada. Ayan. And of course, shout out sa aking mga kasama sa Kuntao, so all over the country and all over the world. From Vietnam, from US, of course, sa aming sa founder himself, Carlito Lanyada. And of course, hi to Lucille Yap and thank you to our sponsors, Gcash, Oil, and Tumandok Handicrafts. So, okay, sir. Sir Bot, tuloy
Yes,
tayo, no? Ayan. We'll be sure now, no? How itong ating kaibigan, kasama partner to discuss, pinakikita po niya ang use ng weapons. Ayan. Balik tayo. Sir Bot, ano bang ginagawa dito? Ayan. Can you please elaborate? Ayan, para makita natin part. Ito basic ito, alam ko eh.
Yes, right now, sir, I am discussing to you the stick that we use in Tapado. We use the coffee stick because it is very sturdy, it is
Yes.
pliant, and it can withstand repetitive strikes and blows. Now, son, Doc Pao, we don't use rattan so much because if you notice, rattan have nodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
When you hit the node, sometimes it will be the breaking point.
Breaking point, yes, correct. Actually, we experienced that even in the practicing stick itself. So, the reason why coffee is ang ginagamit natin dito, yung branch is, of course, ang term natin yata sa Ilonggo is mahunit or I mean, hindi siya basta-basta nababro. Yes. And of course, yung tulad-tulad din, maganda rin kinds of stuff na practice. Kaya lang, sabi nga kanina sa interview with Sensi, mahirap wala sa US ng coffee stuff na yan. And of course, yung mga those can be found only in Negros, I think. Pero sa amin meron din yan in some provinces in Negros, Panay, Masbate, so gaya nakita natin only the Philippines, di ba? Yeah.
Doc Pao, yung isang maganda, pag nag-use ka ng coffee stick, yung message lang, kung pwede, hanggang dito sa may solar plexus mo.
Yung measurement itself, no?
Yeah. Kasi it depends on the height of the person using it.
Correct. For practice purposes, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Although Jembot, di ba, that is only for practice purposes kung bakit, for the information of everybody, bakit ganun lang ang haba or the length na gusto natin for practice purposes because that corresponds to our body. Pero sabi ko, ulitin ko, iba yung actual fight.
Yeah.
Kahit nasabihin mo lagpas ulo yan, pag nakita ko, I can use it as a weapon. Pero for practice purposes, for the purpose of practicing the art itself, that's the best length na pwede mong not necessarily you reach the 42 inches, but sabi mo nga kanina, paano yan? With the hip area, yan. Solar plexus area, ang haba, no?
Yeah.
Hanggang lupa. That's the best length for practice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. And yung size, gaano kalaki dapat?
Actually, Doc Pao,
Yung diameter, yes.
how come that you use? I think the 1 inch and 1.5 inch, just enough. Because sometimes if you use a very big stick, it will also be too heavy.
Yes.
And if
So,
you have,
correct. Kumbaga, one thing is, of course, we should understand first yung kung bakit mahaba o malaki yung kukunin mo. It depende sa size. I always commend that with Sensi Mike kasi si Sensi Mike nasa 6 foot yata. Hindi ko pwedeng gamitin yung stick ni Sensi Mike because para sa kanyang body yun. It was discussed by Sensi Mike, di ba? Na minsan magkakaiba nga tayo ng height. That's why sabi nga niya modified because including the weapon itself. So he just gave the standards, okay? Yung haba should be from you as a practitioner, tumayo ka, you stand up and measure it from your solar plexus down to the ground, and that's the length itself, diba? Tapos when it comes to diameter, of course, Sensimek may hold a bigger diameter, 2 to 3 inches, kaya ni Sensimek, pero tayo hindi So maybe it's the correct that, of course, we have to use the weapon na gagamitin natin kasi sometimes it adds naman sa burden ng ating muscles when it comes to practice. Of course, pagka medyo gusto mo na ng mas pwede siguro natin. So, now, showing you the basic, the number 1 strike at saka length kanina. Nakita ko yung yung unong lampos natin Nakita ko kanina. Ano ang susunod natin yan? Makita natin yung mga techniques. Makita natin. Sir, okay, stance. Correct.
the stance,
Yes.
the stance Doc Pao in Tapado, it should be about a shoulder width or a shoulder and a half width. So that it will allow you, and when you stand, make sure that it's not too wide so that you can be very mobile.
Yes.
You can go forward, you can go back, You can stand at an angle to the left or to the right.
It's not actually a forward stance, but it's a mobile stance.
Yes, a mobile.
Yes, mobile stance.
Very important actually because sometimes, like in Tapado, I also would like to point out, you know, in Tapado, in traditional Tapado, the mindset is never to go back. It's all go forward.
Always go forward. Kaya if you notice, it's more on sideways lang ang pinapractice ng movements eh. But of course, it's more on forward kasi una-una, the advantage of the weapon itself, okay?
Yes.
Kasi mahaba nga siya, so you have to move forward.
Forward.
And at the same time, kung titingnan natin yung movement is of course side to side lang siya eh, side to side. Sabi ni Sensi Mike, side to side yan, walang atrasan dito sa Tapado. Yan, okay. Of course, moving forward show power.
Yes.
Correct. So, yan po yung what Sensi GM both are showing to us is of course the movements lateral and side, moving forward, doing the basic strike. So, siguro naman makita natin what others movement siguro makita natin para makita nila ganito lang pala kasimple ang Tapado. So, let's see yung next style.
Welcome back again to
Ayan,
First
okay.
Strike.
So, I think it's another
Going
interview
back,
pala.
Sensei Mike, and now
That's my
he's going to teach
Let's
us
Sensei Mike
the
explain.
major
Ulitin
strikes
natin ang
of
interview with Sensei.
Tapado. Sensei Mike, what is our first strike?
First strike is Bunal Uno.
Bunal
or strike
Uno.
number 1.
Okay, so Sensei Mike, Bunal Uno is coming from your lead foot and your lead hand. And how do you do it? Can you demonstrate it to us?
Slowly first, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, so that is Bunal Uno.
Bunal Uno.
One. Okay, so there you are. Ladies and gentlemen, you just saw Bunal Uno. Very fast, downward and upward strike. Did you see? It is a very, very powerful strike. Very difficult to block. Okay? Now, if you're going to block that strike, definitely you will be overwhelmed by its power. It is really devastating. Now, Sensei Mike, what is our next strike?
Next strike is Bunal Dos. Or
Bunal
strike
Dos.
number 2.
Or strike number 2. Now, Sensei Mike, we demonstrate to us now Bunal Dos or strike number 2.
Slowly first, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
I can already hear the sticks cracking. From here, you can feel the impact. The impact of the stick is very strong, very strong. And it's just simply awesome. So fearsome, it will be very difficult to block again. So those are just strike number 1 and strike number 2. Sensei Mike, like if you were facing me like this, how do you strike with strike number 1? If you can just do it slowly.
When he blocks, you block it.
Okay.
When he blocks, you can hit him right away to the head, or to the hand, or to the body. Or you can do either this.
Okay. That is just for strike number 1.
Number 1.
Now, Sensei Mike, can we show them strike number 2?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take it from the other
Or
side.
you block. When he blocks, you can hit right away the head.
Okay.
You can hit the hand. You can hit the body. Or you can do the reverse.
Wow. That was awesome. Did you see the movements? First my head, then my hands, then my body, and my stomach.
Yes.
Okay. Those are just the 2 blocks that Sensei Mike showed us. That's only strike 1 and strike 2. When Sensei Mike was striking me, I can feel the vibration here in my hands. Sensei Mike, can you show them again how you hit my hand? Can you show them? Okay, we'll do it from number 1 first. Okay. I'll do the picar. Okay, 1. See? Automatic. Again, sensei. 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now, if sensei might, again, sensei might, can you please do it again? Look at that one. He already hit my hand here, and he can as easily give a thrust here for number 1 only. Sensei Mike, we will show them strike number 2. Okay, Sensei Mike.
Kamot lang.
Kamot naman sila. 1, 2, 3. Stop, Sensei.
Ano?
See? Automatic hitting my hand. Again, he can as easily stab me in my stomach. Okay? So those are just the 2 strikes. Strike 1 and strike 2. Sensei Mike, we'll show them now your third major strike, which is the salta. Salta. What is salta, Sensei Mike? What is salta?
You throw off, or do you stick? You throw it off.
You drive it away.
Yes.
So next is strike number 3 or salta, which is essentially driving the stick of your
You
opponent.
clear the front,
You clear the path.
the path.
So it's clearing the path. No? Now, what do I do, Sensei? If he's cutting like this, okay, salta.
From here, it's good. Ano? Ano? Ano?
Now that was the salta. A very, very powerful technique. It essentially clears the path for another strike. Okay?
Yes, yes.
So essentially, you're driving my stick away.
Yes.
So from here, when you drive, let's see, when you drive,
Again, from there you can strike.
what else I do?
From there, it's also there.
So that is the salta, the third major strike. Now, Sensei Mike, after this, Sensei Mike, for our finale, can we show them the lampos picado?
Yes.
When we come back, we will show you lampos picado.
4-man strike.
So,
Ayan. So as discussed, Sir Bot, no, ang ganda. At least, there are only how many strikes that discussed by Sensei Mike? Tatlo lang, ano? Dalawa?
yeah, tapos together, but we only have 3. This is strike number 1, which is just a downward strike. But, Doc Pao, I was just mentioning Milo, for those who would like to practice Tapado, the downward movement is a strike, the upward movement is also a strike.
Yes, correct. Kasi ano yan up-down up-down strikes. We also have in modernists, we use what we call it up and down. It's an upward, downward strikes. Actually, yan ang sinasabi ko kanina that nakita kong technique ng isang tapado sa long stick fighting sa competition, ginamit niya, kawawa. I mean, you see that the hands, underhands, hindi nila napansin Pero the reason why surrender yung kalaban is because he feel the pain underhand, not sa taas, kundi sa ilalim. See? So, by merely practicing the lampos uno, lampos dos, or by the way, ano nga palang lampos? Sa akin, I understand, lampos is the same thing with strike. We call it strike, strike. Ayan, para maintindihan po ng ating mga viewers, ano ba yung lampos? Kasi si Sensei Mike talaga, dalawa lang ang lingwahe niya minsan It's actually Ilonggo and English. And after that, so siyempre, some of us are watching in the Philippines, so naiintindihan po nila kung ano yung ibig sabihin. Kasi sa Ilonggo and sa aming Masbate, yung lampos is the same. So, strike. Yan, lampos gid. Ayan, so nakikita natin, no? As demonstrated by my partner, yung lampos uno. So,
Tapao, and not
yes.
just, I would just like to remind everybody, of course, many of you have already taken up lessons under Sensei Mike, no? But just out of pressure, please when you strike, don't just do it like this. Put your
Ayan.
thumb
Yes,
back
I know that. Yeah.
down. Very
Pigar yan eh. We call
uh,
pigar eh. Yeah, we call pigar.
that will give added power to your strike.
Correct.
Yeah. And the lampos there, Tapao, I would like to remind for those who would like to practice Tapado later, another important factor is the intent. You have the intent to blind John. The blind John, your opponent. Yeah.
Yun mismo.
Yes.
Ayan. So, siguro I know that they still have some pinapakita po ngayon ng aking partner yung Lampus Uno, of course, sabi niya kanina, merong pigar yan eh, actually. Yun yung modifying techniques ni Sensei Mike.
And
So,
look, types also, very important in practice.
yes, okay. So, I know that they still have more interview with Sensei Mike. I just want to shout out yung watching now is Sensei Joel Madrona from Pampanga, the regional director ng PECAP. So, ito there's another interview to continue with our discussion today. Another video interview with Sensei Mike. Ayan, pakita natin uli yon. Pero pa po ba tayong interview, di ba?
I think that's
So,
number 2. Still strike number 2.
yes.
Yan.
Ayan.
Which is strike number 2. Actually, the pau, strike number 2 is just the other side of strike number 1.
So from left side to right side.
Yes, actually, the pau, it doesn't matter. Strike number 1 depends on the person holding the stick.
Yes, it's left-handed or right-handed.
Yeah.
So it's actually a positioning of the stick itself. If it is in positioning, if you are left-handed, usually use the position of left hand. Pero pag right hand ka, usually use the position of right hand. But the number 2 will on the opposite side. Ayan. Mas madali, di ba? Mas nalalayan na natin, no? So, number 1 is on your strong hand, and number 2 is your weak hand natin na tinatawag. Pero hindi sinasabing weaker hand yan, kasi nakikita natin, ganun pa rin naman ang impact nun eh. Diba?
To add, for strike 1, your strike 1 is your strong hand and your lead leg.
Yeah, on hand, of course, the strong, leading hand, and of course, strong hand, and of course, strong legs. We call it left and right side. If you're on the right side, right-sided ka, of course, yung front foot mo is the right foot, while the position of your stick is in the right shoulder, while in the left side, of course, left foot forward and left stick is on the left shoulder. Ayan, so nakikita po natin. No? So, tingnan nyo lang, no? If you notice, isa lang naman sa rain, parang tingnan mo yung travel ng stick eh. Downward lang eh. Pero ang problema niyan, paano mo siya sasalakin? Di ba? That's the problem eh. Kasi it came from from your back. So, ang power na andun. Actually, for more information, no? Yung power kasi, ang maganda niya kasi, if the position of the hand kasi is near the body. Alam naman po natin ang power ay hindi of long distance from the body, kundi kapag yun ay mas malapit sa katawan mo, mas powerful siya. So yun naman ang science yan. So pinapakita sa atin kung paano kasi malakas kaysa powerful, because you see the hand is the clipping, yung head naka-clip talaga sa body, kaya nandun ang power. So that's why the Tapado strikes really powerful. Depende yan, kahit na sabihin mo bata pumala sa'yo, if he strikes properly, ay talagang may kalalagyan tayo when it comes to power. Ayan. And of course, yung speed yan, ganun din eh. I know the speed's the same. Ayan. So, siguro it will more give us knowledge on Tapado for, meron pa po tayong interview, partner? Meron pa, ano? So, let's see the next, if we still have more video interview feeder. Alam mo, meron pa tayo eh.
That's the salta.
Dasal. Ay, Okay. Ayan. At ito naman pala pinapakita kung yung salta means, of course, it's now the horizontal movement of the stick.
Clearing
Yan.
the path. Clearing the path.
Clearing the fat. Parang tagalinis to. Hawi, di ba? Hawi sa Tagalog is, we can call it hawi.
Saka
And
combination
sa
siya.
banday banda, sabi ni Ceci, similar to banday banda. Pero you are now actually showing us yung different strikes and movements na. Ibig sabihin, pero kung ikaw ay nag-practice using those basic, kaya mo nang gawin yan eh. It's a matter of how you do the practice kasi.
Yeah.
How often times you practice. Ganun naman kasi talaga ang concept ng training. How often you do the practice. Okay? So next, ano natin? I'm sure marami pa rin nakikinig sa atin at nanonood.
So I think I have to go back to Sensei, right? This one here,
Ay, ito pala.
this, uh, this is where we practice
Power.
the power because we don't want to hurt our partners.
Correct.
So, if possible, we should practice it with inanimate objects.
Oh, yun, dyan. So, tingnan natin, how powerful the strike is. Sasabihin, kasi malaki si Jim Boss, pero hindi eh. Oh, I'm sure, hindi yan practice in one day. It's a matter of do it daily life or you have open time to do practice. Ang power kasi nade-develop. Parang si Heidelin Diaz, di ba? Yung power niya, hindi naman niya sa kanya mismo or naginit sa kanya mismo nang galing. Hindi. She actually do some trainings, practice. So the same thing with what the video showing is showing the power of the strike. Yan. So kahit na gaano kalak kung talagang at the same time yung mismong power ng stick na ginamit mo, 'di ba? Kapiyan sir. What yan. So coffee stop. Yan. Pag coffee ang ginamit mo, meron talagang power na siya. Hindi siya basta-basta bro. Okay. Some more videos makita natin. Mas maintindihan ng ating viewers.
And this one is I'm starting a younger bamboo stock.
Yes, actually important din sir yung position ng foot mo position.
Very important.
Very important kasi yung power ng strike. Pinapakita sa atin kung yan lateral, hindi ganun ka-power yan. Kung yung magkapantay yung paa. Pero kung dahil sa pinapakita natin na ang kanyang position is if naka-forward stance, of course, yung power, inaandon. Ayan.
But slightly bending forward leg because
Yes.
power.
Of course, medyo yung mobility niya. Ayan. Okay?
But now, just remind our viewers that in all strikes, whether it's strike bunal 1, bunal 4, or salta, the pigar should always be integrated.
Okay.
Yeah. Kasama talagang pigar every time.
Every time, yung pigar. Paki-explain sir, para maintindihan ng ating viewers, ano yung pigar? Pigar, of course, to hold, di ba?
Actually, the pigar, it's like this. Diba usually, when Ani says like, it's like a snap.
Yes.
Snap. In pigar, you strike with power and intent, and you really overpower your
You
opponent.
hold the power, hold the power.
Yeah.
And push.
Yeah. You notice the Paulo, look at this. Once you push, you do the pigar, it automatically slides.
Okay. So at least, nakita natin, yun yung pigar's movement.
Yes.
So, ibig sabihin, kasi ang science is, of course, both of you are striking. So,
Yeah.
the tendency syempre, hindi naman kung sino mas malakas sa inyo, siya ang mag-overpower. So, the best thing is, of course, you do the pigar para at least the stick of your opponent itself could be used as a tawag dito. Yung kanyang magiging way to really hit him or directly hit him to the hand or to the body.
Nakikita niyo yung sa dami.
Sa dami, sige. Dami. Yeah, makita naman natin yun. Ayan, sayang na saging. Okay ba yun? Ayan, 3 strikes. Tapos, wala na tayo.
O para,
But anyway,
you can have the confidence in how strong you can play.
yes, actually, may technique din kasi yung striking. Kung hindi ka marunong, even if you are not a trained tapado striker, hindi mo rin magagawa yan. It's because merong travel ang sticks na dapat mo maintindihan. Kasi yung technique yan, the pigar.
Kasi kapag ito, if you notice this one, no? Ang pinamaan yung clean stick at saka open to, wala kasing stick dito. Kung ka ganun ka, close siya.
Yes. Oo. Actually, yan yung leverage eh. Yan yung for the disarming, we usually practice. Tinitingnan natin yung position ng kamay. So, the same thing yan. Pinapakita, 3 strikes. Strikes. So, of course, kung hindi yan kung minsan, di ba, pagka palo lang, yes, pag downward lang, hindi. Yes. You will never, So,
if you want to do vertical, in the paddle, it's still okay. Just make sure na the picker is still there so that you go straight down
yes,
the length of the banana.
So, meaning, hindi talaga yung pigar when you do the strike. Yun yung technique. Yung technique itself, yung pigar. So, kasi, madali lang gawin eh. It's just downward, puno dos lampos. Pero, ang technique itself, para ma-translate yung power sa pigar.
The picker, make sure block and strike one movement.
Yes. Kaya, kasi, pag tendency kasi kapag nag-impact yung dalawang palo and your opponent is powerful, babalik sa yung stick. But using the pigar, pag ginawa mo ang pigar, of course, hindi babalik sa iyo ang stick. But manunod siya or doon sa stick mismo ng opponent mo to the nearest part of the body is the hand. So, mag-travel siya.
We just like to share this to our viewers when we practice the picker. I used to teach them, I tell them, every time you strike, you say, palm down.
Yes, correct, palm down. Because you twist twist mo yung kamay mo. So, from here, you twist.
Yes, you say palm down. Every time you strike.
So, with the aid of your hand sa bigyan ng magkakaroon talaga siya ng power.
Yeah.
Okay? So, again, for the benefits of our viewers, iulit ko, the technique of Tapado, as discussed by partners, nandun sa pigar ang power. Okay? 2 options. Pagka, una, of course, pigar is to hold the powerful strikes to you. Okay, number 1, para ma-hold mo yung power strikes to you. And number 2, siya yung magiging guide, the weapon itself that your partner or your opponent is using will be the guide to reach the nearest part of his body, which is the hand. So, magiging strike itself is na siya. Ayan. So, I'm sure it's clear sa ating mga viewers yan. Maliwanag. So, I'm sure some of us here are actually thinking of practicing the tapado. Pero, huwag nyo lang ubusin yung saging, kawawa naman. So, siguro next time. Ito another stuff.
Yeah.
Training stuff na ginamit. Ano po ito? Can you explain GM mo?
Di ba nagsastrike ka sa side? Tingnan mo, nagsaslide yung stick papunta sa gitna.
Correct.
Yan, pupunta sa gitna. That's what happens when you do pigar. So, one strike, one hit ka agad.
Yes, pala.
So,
Take all.
dito ko, if you have this dandy, yung target is the middle pole.
So, siguro, anong klaseng kahoy ito mas maganda? Mas kape pa rin, di ba?
Actually, all the training principle, kasi at ako strikes, I think dami, mabilis na sila yan. No? Ano yung
Yes, yes.
ginagawa ko, I use steel bamboos, but my hitting stick, I use a small tula-tula.
Okay. For practice purpose.
So, bali yung dito ko, na na-install sa inyo, yung
Technique.
tiga. Oh.
Yung technique. This is, kaya nga, ang ano natin dito, what my partner is showing is of course the technique or to improve your pigar.
Yeah.
This is the technique on how to improve your pigar. Kasi alam niyo, ganito pala, no? If you go to the north, pag siba pigar masarap yun. Kinakain kasi yung pigar. Sa atin, pigar is
About, I'd like to add, if you notice the design of the dummy represents almost all the possible strikes that you will encounter.
Yes.
The voice.
Kaya nga sinabi natin modified, it's including the dummy, you modified already.
Kaya,
Okay? Yan yung ating nakikita. At saka I'm sure the viewers na yung mga nakita. Of course, marami po tayong natutunan sa araw na ito, no? Of course, especially sa Tapado. Napakasimple, pero alam ko na medyo lang siya, no? Kasi yung iba hindi nila naintindihan ng principle. The most important is the principle of the art itself.
ito pa,
If you,
sa gitna.
Ayan. Kaya nga, so yung principle ng striking ng Tapado, kapag naintindihan natin, we understand, of course, from our viewers, if you understand the principle itself, mas easier for you to embrace the art itself. Okay?
And with
So,
first, they can look back at the techniques that we showed so that they can practice with it.
yes, so still, of course, this, itong ating streaming na to ay makikita, available naman ito yata sa online.
Yeah.
So you can still go back and watch again, especially those techniques na gusto nating matutunan. I know, and I can say it bluntly na yung mga techniques pong pinakita ni Sensei Mike ay helpful, especially if you want to learn more on Filipino martial arts. This pigar is very important.
Yeah.
Very important in of course in even in a short stick or in regular practice of sticks, importante po ang pigar kasi as I understand, it help you to maneuver yung powerful strikes from your opponent. Correct po ba?
Yes, sir. Ito pigar, if you notice, cultural presenter, it's very easy to do with fasting or stabby motion.
Yes, kasi ano yan andun, yung position ng hand mo, pwede mag-follow up or follow through thrusting. Yan. So you do the figure, you can follow through thrust. Easy na. It's easy. So, again, what my partner is explaining with the dummy is not actually he is introducing the dummy, but the principle of strikes, especially or specifically the pigar technique. Kasi yun yung nagbibigay ng add-on to the strikes of lampus uno or lampus dos mo. The pigar helps a lot for your technique in Tapado. Of course, sabi ko nga, dalawa pa lang strikes ang pinapakita sa atin. How much more if you learn more technique. So, nakita natin kanina, hindi lang dalawa, tatlo pa lang kasi we do the hawi, the salta. We do the salta. So, again, as a review, sa mga kasama natin.
Hello again. In this last segment, we're going to show you lampus pigar.
Marami na siyang inputs to ask for our sa ating mga martial artists. Number 1 is lampus uno, lampus dos, number 2, the salta and pigar. So, wag nating kalilimutan yon kasi it will help us kapag nandun tayo sa training natin. Ito salta, ito yung pigar, ito yung lampus lang, the strike itself. Okay? So, tayo? So, again, ulitin ko lang, salamat po.
Hello again. In this last segment, we're going to show you lampus pigado or the 4-man strike. One of the most powerful techniques of Vasquez modified Tapado. And after the lampus pigado, Sensei Mike is going to show us his training drills using the bamboo dummy. Okay? Hello again. In this last segment, we're going to show you Lampos Picado, or the poor man's strike, one of the most powerful techniques of Vasquez modified Tapado. And after the Lampos Picado, Sensei Mike is going to show us his training drills using the bamboo dummy. Okay? First, the Lampos Picado. So that is the Lampos Picado, one of the strongest strikes of Tapado, the poor man's strike. If you notice, the vibration is so intense, the vibrations radiates through the whole length of the stick. Very hard to block, almost impossible to block. If you don't block, you get hit. If you block, you still get hit. So I don't know how you're going to block it. Let's leave it to Sensei Mike. At this point, Sensei Mike now is going to show us his drills using the bamboo dummy. Now, so this is the bamboo dummy, and Sensei Mike is going to show us how he practices Tapado using the different picar strikes. Now you watch. Regardless of the angle, Sensei Mike will always hit here. This is the body or the hand of the opponent. These two sticks represents the possible strikes one expects to receive from another tapadista. So Sensei Mike, you will show us your dummy drill.
We'll shoot him first slowly 3 times from here. 3. Now this is not the speed, huh? Ah! Here. 2, 3. Ah! Number 2 now. Complete. Ah! Ah!
So Sensei Mike, there you have it, folks. You just saw the power of Tapado. Now, look at the coffee sticks. It's almost shredded.
If there is no rubber, it will.
If there is no rubber here, the crack will run all through the length of the stick. Now, that is the power of Tapado. This is the power that Sensei Mike developed using the knowledge he had with the various arts. Now, Sensei Mike here, again, what you just saw is Vasquez modified Tapado. You saw his insights. We now have the history of Tapado, where he learned it, his mindset, his techniques, his training methods. Now, Sensei Mike, in ending our feature, what are some of the words that what are your aspirations for Tapado? How do you want Tapado to be known?
I want to be known not only in the Philippines but in the whole world, because we have already 3 branches in America. That's in Chicago, California, and in Seattle, Washington State.
Yes. And you know, Sensei Mike earlier when we were talking, Sensei Mike's aspiration is to make Tapado a supplement
Yes,
to other Filipino
you
martial
are
arts.
artist art.
Yes. So that we will also have a long Arnis fighting style.
Yes, this is artist long stick.
Okay, so then,
Because it was derived from artist, not from any other art.
so this will make our art more complete in the sense that this time with Tapado, they don't only have a short,
Oh,
they don't only have a medium length weapons,
double stick,
double stick, they
but
also
we have
long stick.
everything. That's why this will complement artist.
Yes. Now that is the dream of Sensei Mike. Ever since, it is to complement with the other art styles, and it is also to supplement
Yeah.
the arsenal of Arnis as an art. So later on, you know, Sensei Mike, one thing nice with Tapado, one thing that I noticed which is very good with Tapado is especially it's against multiple attackers.
Yes, yes, yes.
If you have a longer stick, I think you will have a better chance of defending yourself than just
Yes. And also if you have an opponent that has also a long stick, you are not out of danger, but you are far from danger.
far from danger.
Yes, you have the big advantage.
Okay. So there you have it, folks. Some thoughts from the master himself, Sensei Mike Vasquez. Sensei Mike, we will have more of Vasquez modified Tapado in first strike. I hope in our future episodes you will be able to show us more of your techniques.
Yes, there are many.
There are many techniques, so we will have more of Sensei Mike. We will squeeze out all the Tapado out of him so that the world will know about the beautiful art that he
We'll
developed.
show them.
Sensei Mike is willing to show you. So here again, ladies and gentlemen, only from first strike, Sensei Mike Vasquez, the developer of Vasquez Modified Tapado. Sensei Mike, it's nice having you on first strike.
Domo arigato gozaimasu. Os.
Hello again. In this last segment, we're going to show you Lampos Pigado, or the
Doc Pao, I think we're back.
Again, at least nakita po natin, no? I'm sure we have some technicalities, but nice na nakuha natin si Sensei Mike for this episode. It's very
Yeah.
nice. And of course, we're lucky na nakuha na nandyan ka sa Bacolod because you're with Sensei. Ayan. So, with that, I'm sure there are more episodes coming, diba, sir, my partner. And of course, before this episode ends, I would like to thank all the viewers na nandito, no? Of course, andyan si Rose Bernadette Motita, and of course, Sir Edgar Perlas, at ang mga kasama natin from Mati Bacolod and others who are actually watching now. So that's it, no? So sa Sir Jembot, you have any?
Oh, again, I would just like to thank our sponsors again, Doc Pao, who have been very helpful in promoting our show. G-Oil, Mandok, Handicraft, and Gcash. Thank you.
Yes.
Make it
So
possible.
lastly for my parting, or maybe say parting words, masaya pa sana, it's more exciting pa sana to discuss more, Sir Bot, before we end this program. Next week kasi we will still discuss or show you the first strike competition, first striking competition. So yun ang abangan po ng ating mga viewers next week. And of course, salamat kay Sensei Mike at he actually gave his time to us. Napakahirap po kasi Sensei Mike is actually a dedicated person when it comes to propagating the art. Ayan. And thank you sa ating mga sponsors uli with Sea Oil, Gcash, Tumandok, Sir Tony, our boss. Yan, Sir Tony ating boss eh. Limbambit and all the modernist practitioners and other styles. And of course, baka makalimutan natin yung ating mga kibagang mostradors dyan sa sa Negros. Ayan. Binabati ko po kayo and of course ang aking mga kasama sa Kuntaw with Grandmaster Jun Lanyada and antayin po natin no susunod po siya sa mga isa po siya sa mga susunod nating interviewin dito. And again, I'm your co-host for today's episode and thank you very much for your time. Sinamahan nyo kami and thank you very much sa lahat at sana po wag tayong magsawa. And I know this will not be seen only in the Philippines but all over the world. Thank you very much for watching to our friends from different countries in US and Europe. Ayan, thank you very much. And of course in Asia, marami pong nagko-comment sa atin. This is actually that's why very sa language natin kasi some don't understand what you are saying. That's why I'm actually sometimes asking to discuss more about the terms kasi importante. So again, next week see you again and see you with the next episode. And thank you very much and again, mabuhay ang Filipino martial arts. Partner?
Okay, so next week I'll be seeing you. And until then, this has been First Strike, your Philippine martial arts hub for people, events, styles, and techniques. So until next week, we'll see you with our first strike. And from now, it's goodbye. See you.